Hey, what's up, everyone? Happy New Year. It is 2024 now, and this here is the first car that I ever finished in automation. There's other cars that I started building before, didn't really work out that well. This is like the first car that I really finished ever making in the game. And now that I've had a lot more time in it, I was wondering, what it would be like if I revisited this car and tried it again, for the most part. Now, since I built this originally, there's been several updates to automation, and I'm noticing here actually some things are different than they were originally because I think some of the old features are no longer supported in the new version, so they had to change some stuff. Um, so originally this had 617 horsepower, I think. So now it has 660. But I called it the DSM 10 because it's a 10, the V10 supercar. And I figured it was like a 10 out of 10. I don't know. It wasn't a very good name. Again, it was like the first car I ever finished building in the game, and I was excited about it. But I didn't really have. I'm still not great at naming things, I don't think. But maybe I'm a little bit better now. I don't know. But yeah, I was really happy with the way this car turned out originally. It's still one of the faster cars that I've built, which is pretty crazy. To think that even though I have spent so much more time building cars in this game, I still haven't quite matched what I did my first try. I mean I have, but this is still consistently top 5, 6, 7, 8 in the testing leaderboards and things like that, which is nuts. Considering it was my first full build. But yeah, I mean, I was really happy with this car, and I was thinking what would be a good idea for a video to kick off 2024. And so I kind of revisited this car and made an updated, more track focused version of it. So let's check it out. All right, and here it is. I went with a bright orange paint job to distinguish it a little bit. But as you can see, there's a lot of new additions to the design of the car. Um, when I first made that other one, I hadn't yet dipped my toe into the modded fixtures stuff because I thought it's a little too complicated for where I'm at right now. I'll just stick to the basic stuff. But now that I've had a lot more time in the game, I obviously have been using a lot more mods and things like that. And so that's what we have here: a lot more modded fixtures, modded wheels. I didn't change the interior. I know I probably should have because it's as basic as it gets, but I was more focused on how I can update the overall design of the car. And then also I took another pass at the engine to kind of squeeze a little bit more horsepower out of it. And yeah, I think it turned out pretty well. We're up to 684 horsepower now, so that's 24 more than what the new version of the old car is. The original car was 617 horsepower, so this is a huge upgrade over that, obviously. Um, and it's still a naturally aspirated V10. I kept the engine the same size as well, so it's a 5.2 liter V10. It's based off of, if you watch the original video, but that was months ago, so I don't expect you to. It's based off of the Audi R8, Lamborghini Gallardo slash Huracan V8 is what I inspired it on. But yeah, I mean, you can see here I have this big air scoop on the roof now to kind of feed air into the engine. I have these louvers on the back now. I've got this much cooler, I think, looking rear wing with the brake light integrated into there. I've got my updated logo on the back and the front of the car. It's kind of hard to see there because it's chrome, but it's there, right there. Really happy with the way these headlights turned out. I think they look super sick. Much more modern looking, much more, I think, realistic looking and cool looking than what I had on the original car. I like the front splitter action there. I kind of updated the air scoops on the side of the vehicle as well, which I'm not super pleased with. I think this looks okay. It's just it doesn't really mold with the body very good. Maybe I should have kept it body color, but I wanted the carbon fiber, again, kind of inspired by the Audi R8 look going on. I really like this kind of like air skip I have here that kind of leads out here, so it's a little bit like a flying buttress design, but not really. But I thought it looked really cool. But it definitely carries on some elements of the other cars that I've made, and I think that's really what I was going for, to kind of make it more of a cohesive design language between this and some of the other cars I made. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way this turned out visually. And I'm interested to see what difference in performance we get out of it as well. One of the biggest updates they've changed recently is they added more all-wheel drive modes to the game. And so I went with the all-wheel drive advanced mode. So I'm interested to see how that handles differently than the original all-wheel drive mode that they had for these cars. So I'm really curious about that. According to the testing statistics, wow, that's hard to say. 242 miles an hour top speed. I think that's about where the other one was rated as well. Again, it's hard because if I go back to it, it's different because it's not the original car, because it's changed since they updated it. So I'm not exactly sure how to check that, but I have the original still in BeamNG Drive. So I'm going to do a little bit of a head-to-head there once I get into BeamNG Drive. But yeah, 242 miles an hour top speed, 2.20 to 62 miles an hour, which is insanely fast for a naturally aspirated V10. So that's pretty cool. It is all-wheel drive, so it definitely helps out for sure. A 9.56 quarter mile, which I think is a little bit faster than the other one that was as well. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how much better this car is after what? I'll look it up here. Yeah, after 178 hours in automation, how much better from 0 hours to 178 hours, how much better I can make the same car, basically. I definitely toyed with the idea of changing the engine more drastically, like changing the size of the engine a little bit and things like that by, implementing some of the techniques that I'm more familiar with now that I know the engine designer better. But I really just wanted to go with the regular engine that I started with and just tweak it to the best of my abilities and see where it goes from there. So yeah, let's check it out. I'm gonna jump into BeamNG Drive now. I'll do a little head-to-head between this and the original to see which one is better now. All right, so we're in BeamNG Drive now, and I have both of the DSM 10s sitting next to each other so you can see side by side the difference. Obviously, one of the biggest differences is the carbon fiber looks way better now after the latest updated automation. It actually exports correctly. So on the old one, you'll see a lot of this carbon fiber looking very gray and not really good looking at all. And the windows are also extremely clear on that version as well. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think it looks way more realistic on the new one. Except you can't really see into the cabin, but it is what it is. That's the immediate thing you see. Also, I forgot to mention this in the overview. This body is not symmetrical for some reason. The passenger side is more narrow, I think, is the word I would just use to describe that. It's more narrow than the driver's side. And I don't really know why that is. It still hasn't been fixed after all this time. I don't know. It's just how that's going to be, I guess. But yeah, I think overall it translates really well to BeamNG, except for the body not being symmetrical. So all the stuff on the driver's side is going to be a little bit off for whatever reason. The headlights translated well. Everything else looks really, really good. I mentioned the advanced all-wheel drive system. Is this longer? It's longer too. Huh. I didn't do that. That's actually very interesting. It's actually a longer car. Huh. Well, that's very interesting then. Huh. All right. Well, cool, I guess. I wonder what the reasoning for that is. That's very interesting. But I mentioned the advanced all-wheel drive system earlier. one of the cool things about that is, so if I go to drive mode here, it's in sport mode right now. If I click it again, it changes it to drive mode two-wheel drive off. So I wonder if that means it's in two-wheel drive mode. I'm assuming that's what it means. But that's pretty cool, is that you can turn it into all-wheel drive, sport mode, two-wheel drive sport mode, and then everything off, which is very, very cool. But yeah, let me jump into both these cars. I'm gonna take a for one like test drive lap around the track, and then I'm gonna get into the new version, the DSM 10680/4R, which is what I called it, and I'm gonna take that for an official testing lap, and then I'll do the drag strip and the car jump arena like I normally do. Well, so let's jump back into the original, the OG. Still sounds really good. Still handles nicely too. I mean, again, that was the thing when I originally made this car. It handled so well. It was so fast already. I mentioned that kind of in my overview as well of how like this car still held a lot of spots on the leaderboards and things like that for my testing to this day. I kind of just got it right the first time. Now, one thing that I have heard mentioned in like the patch notes overview of the latest update is apparently the new automation vehicles are not going to have as much grip as the old ones do. And I can almost feel that already. This thing is extremely grippy. We're going to get to 175 miles an hour on the back straightaway. I would not be surprised if this was actually faster. And not necessarily anything to do with how I made the new version. It might have more to do with the fact that the way automation updated, the cars are different. Oh, I missed my braking zone because I was talking. But yeah, this car still handles extremely well. It's still very, very quick. No, there's nothing wrong with this car whatsoever. I just wanted to see. I mean, the design, obviously, it's very basic. You know, the taillights are extremely basic, and I really don't like the way they look. But the handling characteristics and everything else about the car, it's still really, really good. You know, there's really nothing wrong with the car beyond that. I just wanted to get a little bit more horsepower out of it, which I was able to do. And I wanted to update the design a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's still a very good car, but let's jump into the new one. Let's jump into one. Yeah, the engine sounds basically the same because it is the same engine, just with a little bit more power. Yeah, I can already tell there's way less grip in this version, and I think it is purely to do with the way the automation updated. And I feel like it's not as quick either. But I'll know officially when I do the actual test lap. Yeah, like I'm losing rear grip very easily around the turns. Now that does make it a little bit more fun to drive. I will say that. The actual like driving experience I think is a little bit more enjoyable just because it is less predictable, and that can sometimes be more fun. Let's see if this gets up to the same speed on the straightaway here. I don't think it's going to. Yeah, it's not as fast. 164 what we topped out there. That's interesting as well. It's definitely not as quick. Yeah, I wonder what would happen if I like remade the original car with the original specs and all that stuff in the new version of automation, if it would make a big difference. But yeah, that's really interesting that this is not as fast The handling, it's still good, but it's definitely not like that other one. It's on a rail basically. Like you can't mess it up. This one, it definitely steps out more. It's a little bit heavier, I think. At least, again, it's hard to tell because if I go back to the car in automation, it's not the same car anymore. So that's what's different about it now. Well, but hey, I think it looks better. I mean, you let me know which one you prefer the look of, um, or if I went a little too far with this one, which I might have. It's a supercar though; it's supposed to look ridiculous. All right, I'll be really interested to see how this tests at the test track. Let's find out. All right, we are at the automation test track now, for real, and time to see if this is actually any faster than the original. In an official timed lap. I don't think it's going to be. I'm fully prepared for this to be not as fast as the original one, simply because automation cars are not going to be probably as fast anymore, which is fine because they were a bit unrealistic. Let's be honest. Even if you try to make a very realistic car, it always got like pretty unrealistic stats when you tested it out. But it'll still be quick, I'm sure of that. It's just how much faster is it going to actually be? Not too much to talk about. Yeah, I mean, again, I already did a lap of this track, so I'm not really. Oh, that was weird. The traction control kicked in big time there and slowed me all the way down. I did not put my foot on the brake, and yet the car just like came to almost a complete stop in the middle of that turn. That was unusual. Maybe I need to do this with the traction control off. I normally just have it on sport mode. Oh geez, that was a really bad turn there. Alright, maybe some of my driving isn't as good as it normally is. But not too bad around the corner there. Yeah, it's gonna be in the 212. That's, I don't know, that's not amazing. 18th. So the original, let's see, is number 6 with a 156.8. This is way lower. 212. That is a huge difference in time there. And not for the better. I knew it was going to be slower. I had no idea. Now, I kind of want to try that again with no traction control. Because it really messed me up on that one. So let me try that. I'm going to try it again with traction control off. To see if I can get a more consistent result here. So going traction control off. Let's see what happens. Maybe that's what I should have done from the outside. Now, this is going to be, yeah, it's going to be a lot harder to drive. I have to be a lot more on it. Yeah, it's really starting to slide now, huh? Sorry, I'm not talking too much right now. I'm just kind of focusing in on what I'm doing here. Still not any faster on the straightaway. We stepped out a little bit there. But it's faster than the first time for sure. Took that wave faster too. Yeah, this is definitely gonna be a faster lap, I feel. Is it gonna hold up to the original? Probably not. Just because that one was so fast. But this is probably more realistic, you know? Yeah, this is going to be much quicker. It's still above 2 minutes, though. We're going to be about 2:07. So that's... Geez, that's a lot faster than when I had traction control on. It's still not that fast, comparatively. It's only one spot faster. But it's a... Or... Okay, technically 2, because I added another... Yeah, so it's 5 seconds faster without the traction control on, but it's still way slower than the original. But I think it's just because of the way automation cars are made now. That's really interesting. I thought this would be faster. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll have to go back and do the original and see how that handles. That could be an interesting... I talk about doing like more like automation science stuff. That could be an interesting science experiment. It's like, all right, car made before the latest patch, same car after the patch, what's the difference? But let's take this to the drag strip. I want to see what kind of drag time it puts down. It should be pretty close to the original in that respect. Alright, the West Coast USA drag strip. Traction control on this time. To turn on launch control as well, if I'm guessing. Should be around 9.98 seconds. Is the official time. That's good for 11th on the leaderboard. Where did the original end up? Wait, why did it say 11th? Oh, that's weird. I don't know where I read that. 16th. Okay. I don't know. I got it confused. Yeah, it's still slower. It's still slower, but not by much. So the drag strip, it's not that much slower than the original. But yeah, I think it's just because the cars are more realistic now than they were before. That's really interesting. So yeah, it turns out I have not gotten any better at building cars on automation, but I think it's more because automation got more realistic. Yeah, I'm gonna have to test that. That's gonna have to be one of my science experiments, is figure out how much of a difference it is between old automation cars and new automation cars. So that'll be interesting. Okay, let's send this off right and take it off to Car Jump Arena. All right, of course, we are finally back at the Car Jump Arena in the new and improved DSM-10, the 680/4R. It definitely looks. I think it definitely looks better, but you tell me in the comments if you like the way the original looked better or this one. You know, maybe I should have gone back to that purple paint, but I like this orange. I like that. It looks pretty good. But this is as good of a time as any to remind you, if you like this video, hit the like button. That makes me feel better about stuff. If you want to subscribe to the channel, that would be really cool as well. We just passed 200 subscribers, which is incredible. So like, you know, thank you for that. And let's get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We're starting 2024 off right here. My goal for the end of the year is to get to 1,000. I don't know if it's gonna be possible, but I think it'd be really cool if that could happen. But you know, oh, and also I will mention I will make this mod available as well, like I usually do with these cars. So if you want to try this car out in BeamNG drive, you can do that as well. I think it looks sick though. It looks super cool. I don't know. I think I did a good job with the design on this one. Um, we'll see how far it will fly off the car jump arena jump. And we'll do that right now. Oh, jeez. All right. Okay. 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 Um, the traction control is extremely aggressive in this car. That's very strange. All right, we're turning the traction control off. I guess it makes sense. It's trying to stop it from going into certain doom, but I know what I'm doing. That's what we want here, certain doom. All right, let's go. Let's see how fast this thing gets up to by the end of the jump. We're looking at 180 miles an hour. Pretty good. It's going to go into a front flip, which is interesting. And we're looking at around the 450 mark or so with a really spectacular bounce and into the pool. Very cool. All right. So that's going to be it for this episode. I really appreciate you watching to the end. I hope that you had a safe New Year's celebration. And I hope that 2024 is excellent for you. I don't know. All right. Well, thanks again for watching. I really appreciate it. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.